Commissioner Mike Byerly come forward. Let's give him a hand.
That's definitely not my presentation. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for coming tonight to learn more about this plan for yourself. Thank you to Mayor Cerncy for setting this up. Sort of feel like I'm at a football game. I see two kind of colors of jersey out there. I don't know, most people, many of you have already made up your minds about things. Some of you are here to learn tonight. I don't know how many minds are going to change tonight, but I hope that at a minimum, everyone leaves with a little bit of understanding of what we're discussing. For better or worse, this is a community transforming proposal, and we all need to understand what those transformations are going to be about. Let me just quickly say, while we're trying to bring up, I only have a few slides, the maps. I'm a map guy. I think a good map is worth a million words. Do we have the original thumb drive with the maps on it? What's going to come up here soon, hopefully, is a map of Alachua County. And it's got a couple of things on it. It shows where all the municipalities are with their boundaries. It shows where all the wetlands and the wetland buffers are, superimposed on that map. And it shows the lands that are within the FEMA 100-year floodplain area. Most of you probably know what that's about. I think if you really want to understand why this is such a transformative issue, why so many people are concerned about it, you really need to understand the land, the nature of the land, where Plum Creek's land is, and what it's like. And it would take me a million words to explain it, so I'm really hoping that map's going to come up in a minute. Okay. I just want to take a look at that for a minute. The blue is the wetland and wetland buffers. And the kind of, I don't have very good color vision, the kind of greenish stuff up there is the FEMA 100-year floodplain. You can see the municipal boundaries. It's not as crisp as I would like this to be, unfortunately, but what you can see in the back, what we're looking at is this broad swath of blue all across this part of the county. The municipal boundaries and the white areas, the upper, drier, higher land, are all in this kind of triangle going out this way to the west. There's a reason for that. I'm not a geologist, but you're from Hawthorne, so many of you probably heard of the Hawthorne Formation. It's a layer of clay that underlays the ground all along roughly the eastern third of the county. Thick clay underneath the ground. What it means is that water falls, stays on the surface. It doesn't soak in. This area out here to the west is all sand and lime rock. Rain falls there, more or less soaks right directly into the ground. Water that's here, it pools up. It has nowhere to go. If you were to get on a plane right now and fly across Alachua County during the daylight time, look down, coming over this land right here, you'd see constant, just large areas where there's nothing but the reflection of the sun. This much water, standing on the ground for months at a time, and it happens every single year. These are wet flatwoods. The water either pools up in areas or in a few small places runs off of the land. Now, the reason this is important is because a lot of people have been curious as to why all the growth is happening out west. And some people believe there's even been a conspiracy of government to keep all the development out there. They wonder why the government hasn't done anything to recreate on the east what has happened in the west. Even though I don't think everyone necessarily wants to do that, some may. This is the reason. This is the environmental reality. This land is wet. It is wet, it is extremely remote. Plum Creek bought 65,000 acres, no houses on it. It's hard to do that anywhere in Alachua County. Only these areas where you can do something like that. The comprehensive plan did not create this reality. It does acknowledge it. It acknowledges that the area for growth and development has always been much easier, more environmentally beneficial, less damaging in this area. And the population is going to continue to be out here. To make this area suitable for that kind of growth, You're going to have to do a lot of old school Florida dredge and drains. You're going to have to replumb. The water really has nowhere to go. It's going to stay on the surface to create enough areas for you to be able to develop. That's what it's going to have to be like. Now, I want you to look at a couple of things here before I go to the next slide. See that area up there? I don't have a pointer. You can see all this wet area. Then there's one particularly wet area up there with the green kind of right up there, just to the west of all the, you can kind of see that area, just like that. Oh, okay. Here's Plum Creek's land. All I've done is taken the exact same map. This comes from the Water Management District, by the way. That's where the data comes from. It's the data that they're required to use as part of law. And this superimposes Plum Creek's lands on the same map. Plum Creek lands are the dark areas, outlined in dark, but it has the wetlands over it. So the first thing you notice, it's really wet. There's water in the comprehensive plan. So you're down to about a third of their land that they could theoretically develop. The county has a policy in place in the comprehensive plan. It's called strategic ecosystems. I pointed you to make this thing work. There we go. I'm going to skip past this quickly after that. Strategic ecosystems basically look at the entire county and map those areas that have the greatest environmental significance, or the regional wildlife corridors that have significant environmental features. This map zooms in on the Plum Creek part of that. The shaded area, it's called. That's strategic ecosystem. Virtually all of their land is county designated strategic ecosystems. That means that half, up to half, has to be set aside and protected, the most environmentally significant half. So if you look at the two comparisons, they're going to be required to set aside the same amount of land. It's just going to be in different places. I want to point out one thing very quickly. See this part down here? The part around Hawthorne, the part that most of you are probably most interested in? That has no strategic ecosystem. It's one of the first things you notice. It's also right outside the city limits of Hawthorne. At this point, neither I nor the group Stand By Our Plan opposes that. The impression that we're against all of this, it's not the case. The part where Plum Creek is promising to create jobs, right here, all this area here, we think it ought to be developed and annexed into the city of Hawthorne. It's appropriate. It's all this area out here, the wet flatwoods, where Plum Creek is only promising to build more of what we have all over the county. Standard residential. We have 50 years, I'm estimating, 50 years worth of approved growth in the unincorporated urban cluster of Alachua County alone. There is not a demand for new housing that is not already being met. We have plenty of standard commercial and industrial. There's a lot of industrial land in this county. If somebody wants to come here and create jobs, they can do it at any time. In my judgment, the only thing unique about this, the only thing unique Plum Creek has to offer, is that this piece here is large. It's under continuous ownership. So if there was a really big commercial developer, somebody wanted to build an automobile manufacturing plant, for instance, they need a couple square miles to do that, maybe up to. And that's the only thing in Alachua County that's like that, where it's all in one place. So again, we don't oppose that part. We want to move the discussion to the rest of it. And I'll close out with this. The folks from Plum Creek, they're nice people. Met with them 4 or 5 times. I have personally come to see us all. Nice people, very sincere. They don't make the decisions. The CEO of Plum Creek, who will, he's the man at the top, he's going to make the decisions, gave this interview a month or 2 ago in Atlanta, some stock analysts, where he was very clear, very blunt about what the company's intentions are. I'll read that. And the key initiatives for this is again speaking, and down here is where you can go look that up and read the entire thing. One of the key initiatives for the company over the past several years has been the entitlement of our most valuable development properties. Through the pursuit of these entitlements, we change the very nature of these assets and create long-term value for shareholders. We do not intend to pursue vertical development, that means construction, or invest a significant amount of capital into these properties. Rather, our strategy is to spend time and effort to move these properties up the value chain through entitlement, zoning and land use granting, capture that value, sell it off. I don't say that what's happening in Hawthorne County right now is at the top of their list. It's the best thing in the whole county. And I show this to you for, this is the main reason, not so much a gotcha, even though I think this is a smoking gun. This really shows what Plum Creek's intentions are, is that they don't build anything. They will acknowledge that. Plum Creek does not create jobs. They do not build houses. They mainly grow trees, and they sell off some of their land, which is really valuable, by getting upzoning and then selling it. Someone else will eventually, if they do jobs, create jobs. Plum Creek cannot make any promises. I'm being told this time, so I'll close it out. At any time in the future, it only takes 3 votes of the Alachua County Commission to change anything this commission agrees to. The future people who own this land, who will develop it, will have every right to come back to the county commission at any time and ask for changes. 10 years from now, who's going to remember this? We're essentially signing a blank check, because once this initial approval is given, the first legislative action the county commission is going to take next year, there's no turning back. We're not allowed to take that back. We've vested them with rights. They will carve it up. They will sell it off. Others will do things, but they're not doing anything that isn't already happening in Alachua County. It's just a matter of where it's going to happen. I'm going to close out with that. I'd like to go on for a lot longer, but you've been very patient. I appreciate your attention and any questions.